Welcome to a Steeler Thoughts and Chief Feelings film review. Today we're reviewing the Chiefs' Week 2 26-25 win against the Cincinnati Bengals. It's quite a game to review. There were a lot of big moments. It was a really sloppy, up and down game that still had some really great moments too, and we're here to recap several important plays from that game. We will be releasing the film review for the Steelers-Broncos game tomorrow. So in one day after this, we've got the clips already going for that, so we should be uploading a video soon. So let's get started in this review. Here we are in the first quarter. This is the Bengals' first drive, and it's actually the first offensive drive of the game. And the Bengals are here facing a third down in the red zone. The score is tied at 0-0. So, these are the real money downs, your third downs in the red zone. The difference here between scoring 7 and 3 points. So the Bengals come out and they look to be in 11 personnel. They have one running back here, and this looks like Mike Gesicki, the tight end. So that gives you 3 wide receivers. And the Chiefs match that up in their nickel. They've got 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers. And then they've got 5 defensive backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So let's see what the Bengals are trying to do here. They've spread the Chiefs out. And they initiate things here by moving Jamar Chase in motion from the left to the right. And if you notice, nobody really runs with him. So they're not really in like a pure man look here on defense, right? Unless they're disguising it very well. But one thing that's important to note is this motion gets Jamar Chase away from Trent McDuffie. So that may have been a goal for the Bengals in this game, as the Chiefs really kind of bracketed Jamar Chase all day when he wasn't with McDuffie, but McDuffie was the only guy they were comfortable playing Chase one-on-one, and Chase didn't have a lot of success with him, so it makes a little sense that they would motion him away from McDuffie if that were intentional. It could be that it's just a coincidence. So what the Chiefs are going to try to do in coverage here is they are kind of doing a man match kind of principle. So again, coming from somebody who is not privy to the details of a ton of defensive coverages, what it looks like to kind of a layman's eye like me is that McDuffie is kind of responsible for the kind of shorter, like near the goal line, and it looks like the deeper routes are kind of being inside outside by Brian Cook, and this is Najee Johnson over here. What I mean by that is they've got 3 right here on 2, right? But how they'll decide who runs with whom kind of depends on what routes combinations they're running. So the way that they defend this, it kind of looks like if anything is coming around here, that's more Brian Cook. Things that are more in this like intermediate area, McDuffie seems like he's taken care of, and anything toward that outer boundary looks like that's Najee Johnson. And they do a similar thing down here with Watson and Justin Reed and Drew Tranquill. I think Tranquill is the guy who is looking more for the underneath stuff. Justin Reed is looking for more stuff this way, and Watson is looking for routes that are going that way. The one difference is that Tranquill seems like he's also like following Chase to kind of bracket him a little bit. So you can see what I mean. Well, even to start, note that McDuffie's kind of faking a blitz here to start. But you can see what I mean when you come here. So now you see Gesicki kind of runs a stop route right at the goal line. Chase, on the other hand, is running like an out route right at the goal line. So McDuffie seems like he's kind of, what we said, he's taking that front guy, and then Najee Johnson is following him and looks to take him if he goes outside, and it looks like Cook is following, and he will kind of follow him if he goes inside. And I think a similar thing is happening down here. Justin Reed is kind of taking the guy going inside. Watson seems to be kind of dropping off, and Tranquill is carrying underneath. But they end up, like if you look over here as I run this, they're kind of bracketing him, but you do see Tranquil like fall off when he gets really wide, and then Watson kind of take care of him. So the coverage is really good here, right? If you look at, it's always good to go to where when the quarterback hits the back of his drop. So here's Burrow ready to throw. Well, McDuffie's driving on this. He's covered well. They're still kind of getting going. So when here you can see Burrow, what he wants is the chase out route, right? That's what he's starting with, but they've got him bracketed really well. And you see Burrow kind of thought about letting it go right here for this out route right there, but Watson is here ready to drive on it. Tranquil is going to try to drive on anything underneath, so that's not there. Not able to do that. And then again, as Burrow's kind of looking off to his next reads, nothing. So this sack really starts, at least is aided with by the coverage, right? In theory, no matter what you do coverage-wise or pass rush-wise, if Chase gets open on this out, that's too fast, right? Like, he's going to make that throw. That's going to be a touchdown. He's not open. He has to eat it. He has to go to read number 2. And then as he's going from 2 to 3, so he's going 1, then he's going 2. And as he's going 2 to 3 is when the pass rush gets there. And so let's wind this back now and look at it from a pass rush perspective, because this is what the Chiefs really need. What they need is when Chris Jones gets double teamed, and he's mainly kind of going up against the guard, but the center is coming in and helping. And Chris Jones actually tries to beat the guard inside, but the center brings the double at that point and prevents him from doing that. But when you've got 2 committed to Chris Jones, then Dana's one-on-one, Wharton's one-on-one, Karlaftis is one-on-one. And you need guys to be able to win one-on-one. And in this case, both Karlaftis and Wharton on the left side of the defense, on Burrow's right side, both win. And that's what makes this play possible. So Burrow's over here. He's looking for Chase now. Chase isn't there because Watson's fallen off to help bracket him. He's going to number 2. And look, Wharton has already won inside, and Karlaftis is doing a great job collapsing the pocket here. These are both important to the pass rush. Wharton's win ends up being big enough that he moves Burrow off of his spot, and this is where I first remember hearing it talked about a lot by Seth Kaiser, who's on the Times R, or not the Times R's podcast anymore, the Only Weird Games podcast on Kansas City Sports Network, and he has a Chief of the North newsletter on Substack too. He always talks about how you need more than one guy to win in order to have a truly disruptive pass rush. Because if just Wharton wins, then Burrow can still get off his spot and get away from the one rusher and do something. But when Wharton wins and Karlaftis has also won and collapsed the pocket, then as Burrow tries to escape, Karlaftis has created an alley for himself to come and get him from behind and disrupt the play. So this is a nice concert of great coverage on the back end with a strong pass rush from 2 one-on-one pass rushers, and that allows this pass to go incomplete as Karlaftis grabs Burrow and he's not able to make a good throw. We can see the rush really well here from this view, and you watch Chris Jones was just a monster this entire game. He's coming up against the guard and he tries to beat the guard inside, but he gets help over from the center. So both of these guys end up being occupied. The center having to follow Chris Jones is what allows Turk Wharton to truly be one-on-one. The center can't come over and help here. So as we run this, then watch. Here's Jones starting his move toward the inside, and look, the center giving help, leaving a true one-on-one here. And Karlaftis with a great kind of snatches and then tosses the guard down, gets the guard down on a knee, finishes it up with a little kind of swim, almost a little swim move there to get around him and disrupt Burrow. So that is number 1. And then number 2 is Karlaftis' rush. Once Wharton is in, Karlaftis kind of collapses the right tackle back and allows himself then an angle as Burrow tries to escape to get to him. But this is really made possible by the extra attention on Chris Jones, necessitating these guys to win individually, and they did in this case, both of them, which causes the good pressure on Burrow and allows for the third down stop. Now for our next play, we're a couple drives later now. It's a 3-3 game. Teams have traded field goals, and then the Chiefs forced a Bengals 3-and-out. This is the first play after the punt. The Chiefs are starting with 1st and 10 on their own 29-yard line just before the end of the first quarter. So 3-3 game. The Chiefs look to be in position to try to get their first lead of the game. And the Chiefs come out here in 12 personnel. You can see they've got the one running back and the two tight ends, Travis Kelce and Noah Gray. That leaves them with two wide receivers. They've got Xavier Worthy and Justin Watson. The Bengals seem to have three linebackers on the field, so they've come out in their base personnel with just four defensive backs. And the Bengals are showing cover 2. If you can see, they've got two safeties over the top, and they actually end up running a pretty standard cover 2. And if you notice, the Chiefs shift their tight ends into a very interesting formation where they've got both tight ends next to Mahomes in the backfield and then Pacheco behind. So the Bengals are going to run a fairly standard cover 2. Got deep safety, we got deep safety. In the Tampa 2, oftentimes you get the middle linebacker coming way back and almost being like a third defender, so it looks a little more like a cover 3. Then you get these two linebackers with intermediate zones, and these corners are going to kind of play cloud, which means they're not covering the flat, they're dropping back a little bit, covering more of an intermediate zone. The Chiefs actually run a very good play for cover 2. They've got Worthy kind of challenging inside and then coming out for a corner route, and Watson does the same thing on this side. And the goal of this route, because if you remember, we've talked about this on a prior video, but the kind of the holes in the cover 2 defense are, if the corners are playing cloud, you're going to have the flats open. So that's one option. Number 2 is in between the safeties, but in this case, if you have the linebacker drop back fully, then that might be covered. And then number 3 are these kind of hole shots to either side in between the corner and the safety. That's obviously an easier shot to do if the corner is coming up and playing the flat. Since the Bengals corners are dropping back, the window's a little smaller, but the goal with these kind of routes, like the one Worthy's running, is to get the safety kind of moving in this direction before coming out and creating an opening to the sideline. So Worthy and Watson, like we said, are doing this. They kind of challenge in and come out. Gray is coming over to the flat here. Pacheco is coming out to the flat there. And Kelce is going to release up the middle and challenge the middle of the field here. So let's kind of watch this develop. Now, the one thing you'll notice that's different from most cover 2s is look how far back the Bengals get. They've got everybody way back here. So, here, we're at 10 yards. This is a first down, remember. So they're perfectly happy to give up this throw to Pacheco, which, you would imagine will result in at least 5 to 7 yards if dumped off right there. The Bengals are just giving that up. But the reason why I mention them dropping so far back is it does kind of mess with one's understanding of, normally in a cover 2 defense, like you'd expect these linebackers to be about here, a little farther up. And so you'd expect with this guy going way back, then you'd expect there to be a little bit of a void in the middle. But, your spacing is completely changed when your linebackers are going to drop back this far. So as you can see, Mahomes, what I think most people would tell you based on how this play goes. So remember, you got to think about when he's going to actually throw the ball. So he's hitching, he's going to throw right here. One would argue that the real throw here, like people have brought this up, and yes, that is a perfectly reasonable throw to take right there, especially because Pacheco could I think you'd imagine from this point right here that he could get, 5 yards easy, maybe more. But I do think the throw is to Worthy. You've got Worthy already kind of getting the safety moving this way, and he's right about to break to the outside. I think that it's a bit of a long developing route, but Mahomes has the time, and I feel like if you put this ball right there, I don't think the safety is going to get around in time to be able to make a play on that. Mahomes and Kelce trust each other a lot, and I think the thing that I don't really understand, there are a couple of things. One, I'm not really sure why Kelce drifted here. So instead of settling right in between the two linebackers, Kelce continued to drift a little bit, and you see like the midpoint between the linebackers, they're both kind of outside the hash, so you really would imagine it's like somewhere right here, right in between the hashes. But instead of settling there, Kelce does kind of move over very close to the left hash. I'm not really sure why he did that. And the other thing is, I don't know, Mahomes, didn't see the linebacker. It also really looks like he kind of telegraphed this throw. So I'm not 100% sure what he was seeing. This does look like a fairly standard cover too. The only thing being that, like we said, these linebackers are farther back than one would expect. So it's possible that he was just shocked to see that he did. He didn't see it. Obviously, he wouldn't have thrown the ball if he did. But he was not anticipating a linebacker to be at this depth. He was assuming he knew what the coverage was and thought that the linebackers would be up here. The other thing that I kind of posited in the episode that we dropped on Monday evening, the Steeler Thoughts and Chief Feelings Week 2 recap and Week 3 preview, was you got to think that, Kelce is very unique in that he reads coverages like a quarterback and is very good at settling in open areas. You almost wonder if seeing Kelce settle, Mahomes just kind of turned his brain off and trusted it and threw it because he thought if Kelce thought he was open, then he must be open, which is not at all any excuse for making that throw. I'm just trying to think. It's still like that's not good process, right? One should, the whole trust but verify thing, make sure that he's actually open. But otherwise, it's kind of hard to understand why he makes this throw. He's not one that's really prone to getting fooled by underneath defenders, and there's not much to fool here. Like, this is a pretty standard cover too. The only difference, like we said, is just how deep everybody is. So yeah, it's my best guess, honestly, is just that he really keyed on to Kelce and just assumed that Kelce knew what he was doing too. But Kelce did. If Kelce doesn't drift, right? If he's like right in this middle, it's a tight throw, but one could argue maybe this throw is there, right? I don't know why this would make more sense to me if Kelce drifted and then Mahomes threw it here anyway, and it was just an incomplete pass, because that's the place, right? It's not an easy window with this distance. Mahomes is standing at the 21-yard line and he's throwing it over to the 40. That gives you these guys time as he starts to throw to close, which is what happened up here, right? You can see as Mahomes releases, you see the linebacker closing that distance really quick. But I don't know why Mahomes followed the drift and threw it over to where Kelce was. That just made it worse. Theoretically, if he throws it a little farther in, maybe this guy can dive for it too. But I don't know. I'm not. This wasn't a throw based on a read, or at least a correct read or a good read. It's hard for me to understand why he would miss that linebacker. I don't know. My best guess is he kind of just trusted that Kelce settled, Kelce stopped, throw it to Kelce. But how you missed that linebacker, I don't know. And then to see it here from the end zone view, so again, you look at the depth that these linebackers are getting. And again, there's the drift. You can really see it well from this end zone view. Kelce, why is he moving in this direction? Like, we've got one backer here. We've got one backer here. Why isn't he settling somewhere over here? And why isn't, if Mahomes is throwing based on where the backers are, that's where he throws the ball, right? Where you think Kelce's going to go. But instead, he follows him over to the right. So honestly, from this view, it really looks like if Kelce had just settled here, that's a complete pass, right? But he threw it anyway. Maybe, I just, to me, the only thing I can think of is just that he was like, you know what, Kelce settled there. Kelce knows what he's doing, and for whatever reason, didn't want to check the backside backer himself. But the other thing that you can see is, look, his eyes are here the whole time. He does maybe try to look off to the left a little bit right here, right before throwing it. Maybe, but I mean, he doesn't do a lot to move these linebackers with his eyes either. So that's a tough play. It's an uncharacteristic play. Don't really know what to make of it. The harder part being that there were guys open on that play. I think that the throw to Worthy or the throw to Pacheco are both very good throws. The throw to Worthy could have been a huge play, but unfortunately, Mahomes kind of decided he was going to Kelce, and it wasn't a good option on that play, and he gets intercepted. Now, here we are on the subsequent drive. So Mahomes has just been intercepted. The Bengals have brought it down the field. It's still a 3-3 game, and we are at 3rd and goal on the 4-yard line. So the Chiefs get the Bengals into the same position they did on their first drive. They're 3rd and goal. At the 4-yard line, same spot, and trying to get another stop, hold them to another field goal. So on this play, the Bengals again are in 11 personnel. They've got the one running back, and here's Gesicki, the tight end again. Leaves them with 3 wide receivers. The Chiefs, again, actually, they look like they are in dime. They only have the one linebacker on the field. That is Nick Bolton here. Otherwise, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 defensive backs, and they're 4 down linemen. And so with that 6 defensive back, they have got Najee Johnson down here, who is a 3rd-year corner who this year is really his first time like playing real NFL football. His first year, he didn't see action, and his second year, he was looking good in training camp and then tore his ACL. So the Chiefs are not as creative with their coverage this time. They're just kind of running straight man. The exception being that they bracket Jamar Chase. So they've got McDuffie and Brian Cook guarding Jamar Chase. Everybody else is manned up, manned up, manned up. So if we let this run, here you can see it, right? We got man, Jamar Chase is doubled, man, and then Nick Bolton is waiting for the linebacker to leak, and Justin Reed is just hanging out in the center of the end zone. And so the Bengals are kind of just running stops to, he's coming and he's going to end up coming out to the pylon. It looks like they're doing the same thing here. Chase is coming up to the goal line, and Gesicki also looks like he's just coming up to the goal line before he, when nothing's there, he then tries to come back. But the real route to watch over here is, I believe his name is said Iosivas. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's on Najee Johnson. And I think what this illustrates, this route, is that just in these tight windows, one small false step by a corner is all that you need. So he makes a really good, he's trying to sell that he's going back corner, right? He's trying to sell he's going back corner, and then he puts a hard foot in the ground and comes back. And this step right here, if you watch Najee Johnson, watch the step he's about to take right here. That one. Boom. That one false step, that extra step it takes him to recover. Look at that's enough separation. This is the NFL. That's all you need for your throw. And that's a great job getting his 2 feet down. That's a touchdown. So one of the things that came up on our episode was the ball across the plane in his control. It's hard to say for certain watching this, but it kind of looks like it, right? It looks like this ball was probably across the plane. What's going to be more interesting is trying to, I think we can look up the rule book on this actually, because it's unclear whether in this scenario, does the ball have to cross the plane for this to be counted a touchdown? I would think so rationally, but the way that it's called sometimes, it's unclear. And that doesn't even seem to be something that was talked about or looked at much with this catch. But, I mean, if I were to guess, I would say yes. I think the ball probably crossed the plane here. If you look at the defensive line, Chris Jones again gets doubled. This time we got Wharton here. And the line actually, like Wharton and Dana do a good job of collapsing the pocket, right? They're actually coming in and doing a pretty good job. But the problem is that these throws happen so quick in the red zone. We talked about it on the previous Jamar Chase route, that had he been open, even with the great pressure they got, that would have been a completed pass. And it's the case here. Even though these two get good pressure in the red zone, like it's too quick. He's running a quick route. And so there's not much that can be done. Ozzie Johnson is wishfully hoping that he was out of bounds, but it was a great toe touch by the receiver. You can kind of see the pressure here, and look how quick this play develops. Step back, hit the back of his throw, one hitch throw. So it's tough. Like, unless you get an immediate win as a defender, like, this is very quick. And I mean, this is good pass rush, right? They're collapsing this pocket, but when you're throwing that quick of a throw, there's not much that can be done. All in all, it's a tough snap. Like, not a lot was done wrong by the Chiefs here. But, good throw, good catch. It was a good route, too, to get Ozzie Johnson off of that step away. And, you can see it here one last time. It's just a good throw by Burrow. That's touchdown Bengals, and they go up 10-3. All right, we have the next drive for the Chiefs. So now they're down 10-3. They are on the Bengals side of the field. They have a 1st and 10 on the Bengals 44. Mahomes has just converted a 3rd and 4 by barely stretching the ball out on a scramble. So they've just had an interception on their last drive, and now they're trying to catch up with the Bengals, who scored a touchdown off of the turnover, and trying to even this game up. So what the Chiefs do, they come out in 12 personnel here. Got one running back. They've got 2 tight ends. This is Travis Kelce. This is Noah Gray, which leaves them with 2 wide receivers. The Bengals appear to be in their nickel package. They look like they've got 2 linebackers here and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive backs. And the Bengals are going to run a cover 2 again. So we saw them run a cover 2 before. Again, you got the 2 deep safeties, and they do a similar thing where they've got the corners kind of clouded. In fact, Cam Taylor-Britt on this side, like, really runs with quite a ways back. It's almost looked like man coverage. But they are playing a little more traditionally on this side. And so what the Chiefs end up doing is they send Rice an outside release 9 route, and Worthy does the same thing. They're both just going long. Kelce is kind of splitting it. This is I think the route combination people like to call 9-8-9. You got 9 over here, and then he's got the option of kind of bringing it over or taking it up depending on if there's a middle of the field defender. And Noah Gray ends up motioning in. We can show his motion. And then he will like try to block for a minute, then leak out, and then Pacheco comes out this way. So again, cover 2. And the thing that's interesting about this one, first of all, being that like Cam Taylor-Britt's really kind of running with him almost like it's man, is that there was oddly the safety, because the one thing about the cover 2 is just that you have to stay on top of everything on your half, and this safety, one could argue, did so. If you look at Worthy, like, he's definitely got eyes to this side, and at this point Mahomes is throwing the ball, but Even earlier, he's got eyes on Kelsey on the inside, but Worthy's still here. He's still on top of Worthy. But this safety loses his contain on Rashee Rice. And I think part of it is like Rashee Rice is not really known to be a deep threat, right? In fact, the only other kind of go route he has caught for a big gain was against the Bengals last year in Kansas City. But inexplicably here, or maybe explicably, maybe I just explained it, that Rashee Rice isn't a big enough deep threat and they didn't respect him. I think part of it is that everybody's got eyes on Kelsey in the middle of the field, but that allowed him, he really needs a little more depth here. He let Rice get on top of him, and he's too far away to do anything to alter this throw or even to make a tackle. Mahomes sees it early. Here, if we look over here at Mahomes, he drops back, hits the back of his drop, and he's ready. Like, he sees this angle. Look how flat, at this point, by the time he makes this throw, Rice is gone. And look at the difference here. Look at how far on top of Worthy the safety has remained. Mahomes sees it. He lets it go. A perfect pass down the sideline for a touchdown. I mean, that's just not good safety play. In cover 2, you've got to be on top of the receiver. And I'm assuming that Kelsey kind of coming over the middle is what messed that up for him. He had eyes that were too much involved in what was going on here in the middle, and Rice gets wide open. Mahomes sees it quickly. And good on Mahomes because, this is our deep threat, right? Xavier Worthy. And Worthy just doesn't get as clean a release off the line. If you see, Rice is at this point already going vertical while Worthy is still working his way around. So it's, because if you're thinking well, Rice is so much faster than Worthy, how come we're freezing it here and Rice is about to get to the 30-yard line and Worthy's at the 27? Well, it's because Rice got a much, much better release off the line. He wasn't jammed at all, and he, did a great job of getting that outside leverage really quick, whereas Worthy had to really work around the corner to get outside. And those little things, mess up the timing quite a bit. In any case, not sure why the safety didn't get over there. Missed responsibility by Bell over there, and that leads to an easy touchdown for Mahomes. You can see one of the things that may have caused Bell is look where Mahomes' eyes are here. So we talked about on the interception how he was kind of staring Kelsey down. Well, if you look here, he's staring Kelsey down again. So that might have helped to kind of draw Bell's attention. And then look how he just at the last minute goes over to Rice. And so that might be one reason why the safety wasn't paying enough attention to Rice. If you look at his eyes again, then he looks over to Rice. What a throw. Right in stride. Touchdown. A big play for the Chiefs, who really need explosive plays to help opening everything else up underneath. They were able to tie the game here at 10. All right, so now we're at the next drive. The Chiefs have tied it up at 10-10, and the Bengals have moved down, and we're back in the red zone and back with another key third down in the red zone. The Bengals here really want to get a touchdown to go up 17-10, and the Chiefs are hoping to hold them to a field goal. The Bengals are in a 3rd and 10 situation right about at the Chiefs' 12. These kinds of, red zone situations ended up being really crucial in this game. The Bengals got the Chiefs a couple times with touchdowns, but the Chiefs did force some crucial field goals that ended up contributing to the 1-point margin that they were able to win by at the end. So let's see what the Bengals are doing here. They appear to be in 11 personnel. This is one running back, and there's Gesicki, the tight end. I believe this is Iosivas, a wide receiver, which is why it's not 12 personnel. If this happens to be a tight end, that would be 12 personnel. But I think this is a wide out, so I think we're just the one tight end, which gives us 11 personnel. And the Chiefs are in a very interesting formation. They're in a 3-3-5, which means 3 down linemen, 3 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. 3, 4, 5. But interestingly, they take Leo Chenal, and you see he's kind of down as a de facto 4th lineman. So they've got him lined up like a pass rusher, is kind of like an over front. And they have really, for the purposes of this play, Bolton and Tranquil are playing the role of linebacker. What they end up doing on this play is they just run cover 2 man. So they've got safety deep. There's no real like exoticness from Spags except for the 3-3-5 formation. And they don't even bracket Chase. They just play Chase one-on-one, which was a rarity when he wasn't being guarded by Trent McDuffie. And if you'll see, the Bengals just kind of run their guys to the goal line. He's going to come in like this. He's going to come up in like this. And Gesicki is going to kind of come and then wheel around, try to get to the outside. And look at the coverage. Everybody is covered quite well across the board. So the Chiefs do a very good job on the back end. But the fun is really on the front end with the guy who was just a maniac today, and that was Chris Jones. And if you see, Chris Jones has a double from the center and the guard, and he just goes right in between it and just absolutely destroys the pocket. And I mean, the coverage was good anyway, but this would have been tough to have anything happen unless someone popped right open, because Chris Jones, we watch him here again. There he goes in, and he just destroys it. And then as Burrow comes up, both he and Karlaftis are able to meet up at the quarterback and collect the sack. You can see it even better from this vantage point. So Chris Jones is going to start right here, up over the tackle. And he's going to come in between the guard and the center right there. So here comes Jones. There's his move. Look at that. Split the double team. And he's so strong. He's almost like riding them. And then, unfortunately for Burrow, it seems like him stepping up. And part of him stepping up, again, gives some credit to Karlaftis, who is also shrinking the pocket from this side. Part of him stepping up was due to Karlaftis, but him stepping up actually might have made it a little bit easier for Jones, who, you know, they got him off his feet for a second right here. He's kind of riding him right there, so I don't know how much more penetration he would have gotten, but as he got his feet, he saw Burrow leaving and managed to collect the sack. I do want to shout out Nick Bolton, who is much maligned for his coverage last week against the Ravens. Look at him covering this inside route and just making sure there's no window for the quarterback to throw it to. I mean, that's very, very effective here in the red zone, where you just got to discourage the throw. Look at Burrow kind of looking over to his right. I mean, he's already off his spot here, but if this guy happens to pop open, I mean, on this play, it's probably a moot point. I mean, he's in too much trouble. But shout out to Nick Bolton. That's good coverage back there, and it's nice to see him. He had a couple splash plays, a tackle for loss, and he had a near interception and knocked a pass down at the line. This was much more the Nick Bolton we're used to seeing, somebody who's, you know, a good linebacker, and he played like a good linebacker today. In any case, the Chiefs with another big stop to force a field goal. And now we are into the third quarter. So the score of the game now is 16-10 Bengals. And the Chiefs got the ball for the first time to start the third quarter and drove it down the field. And we are now at a 2nd and goal at the 1-yard line. The Chiefs here looking for a score to get back up on top. And I guess the best way to characterize this personnel grouping for the Chiefs is 23 personnel. They've got 2 running backs, although their fullback here is Leo Chenal, the linebacker we just talked about, who is lined up at edge on our last video. And their 3 tight ends are Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, and Wanye Morris is lined up as a tackle eligible. So a tackle eligible is a player that is not normally an eligible receiver that comes in. So it's usually someone with an offensive line number. And that player actually has to declare himself eligible to the officials before the play for him to be considered an eligible receiver on the play. So he cannot catch a pass if he hasn't declared himself eligible. And your formation will not be legal if you don't have an eligible receiver covering the tackle. So if you're going to line somebody up in this formation, he has to be eligible for this to be a legal formation. So you have to go and report as eligible. Basically, the rules with alignment are that each tackle on the offensive line has to be covered by one and only one eligible receiver. You can't have multiple, which is why you see Kelsey on the end. Wanya Morris is the eligible receiver covering him, and Noah Gray has to be off of the line of scrimmage. He's not up here. He has to be back there. If he were to be covering the an eligible receiver, that would be an illegal formation. So, the brilliance of this play is the formation of a tendency and then breaking the tendency. The Chiefs have already, to this point in the game, converted 2 4th and 1s with Carson Steele as fullback. The second 4th and 1 was on this drive, and they used Leo Chenal as a lead blocker and Wanya Morris as an eligible tackle. So they've got the same personnel group that they did when they ran this over to the left and got a first down. That's the play. Noah Gray did a great job of coming in the hole, and he actually kind of blocked 2 guys. So the Chiefs line up in the same formation and show the same look. Here comes Noah Gray setting up, and here he comes right into the hole like he did before. Here's Leo Chenal lead blocking. Here comes Carson Steele. So the Bengals are seeing exactly what they've seen before, and everybody's looking for it. The one person you could argue wasn't looking for it, or that was, had some awareness of this, was Von Bell. Everybody else is kind of looking for it. And what do? The Chiefs sneak Wanya Morris out and Travis Kelce behind, and both of them actually are wide open. Mahomes could have had his pick. Throws it to Wanya Morris for a touchdown. That's a really great job from Andy Reid of showing what he showed before and doing something new out of it, and that worked to perfection. One of the easiest touchdowns you'll see, but it's all set up by what the Chiefs are showing, what the Bengals are expecting. And good for Wanya getting his touchdown. So you can see it from here, really watch the movement. Everyone's coming in. They all have seen this a couple times in this game. They know what's happening, or they think they know what's happening, and Mahomes pulls it with a quick flick, touchdown. The Chiefs take the lead here, 17-16. We're now well into the third quarter. This is the subsequent drive. The Chiefs had just taken the lead 17-16, and the Bengals have marched down the field, and the Chiefs actually stopped them on 3rd and goal. This is 4th and goal at the 3-yard line. So a hugely impactful play. We were talking earlier about how those 3rd and goal plays ended up being 4-point swings, 7 versus 3. Well, this is 7 versus 0. It's a 7-point swing play. Hugely impactful. So what are the Bengals going to try to do here? Well, they look to be in, again, forgive me, this is my lack of knowledge about the Bengals personnel, but this is clearly a tight end. So there's one running back, there's a tight end. So it looks like 11 personnel. I don't think 81 is a tight end. I think it's a wide receiver. So I think there's 11 personnel with one running back, one tight end. And the Chiefs look like they are matching that with nickel. They've got 2 linebackers here, Tranquil and Bolton. They've got their 4 down linemen. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defensive backs. And it looks like the Bengals, the Chiefs kind of coverage plan. So if you look, the Bengals don't bring their running back or the tight end out. They drop them both in pass coverage, maybe anticipating some kind of crazy Spagnuolo blitz. But Spagnuolo actually does a similar coverage combination to what he has done before. It looks like they are inside-outsiding Chase here. So Justin Reed is kind of watching his inside. Jalen Watson is watching his outside. And they've got a 3-on-2 like they did before on this side. And it looks like, we talked about it. It looks like McDuffie's kind of that shallow, like intermediate. Cook is taking routes going this way. And it looks like Joshua Williams is taking routes going that way. That's my read of it. And based on that understanding, I think you've got to look at Joshua Williams when it comes to the touchdown here. Because Williams is kind of, McDuffie starts looking here because this looks like a short route. And then as Cook runs with him, McDuffie comes off and is here. Williams kind of takes the outside guy, but as the outside guy comes to the middle, Williams commits very hard, which allows Iosivas to stop and turn back. And look at how off kilter he gets Williams. Well, we talked about that in the situation with Najee Johnson before. Right? Even a couple steps getting caught the wrong way, that's just too much. And look at all the open space. Iosivas has an easy touchdown. I would like to think that Iosivas was coming. I imagine they had some route combination, but it kind of looks like he's like really coming over toward the goalpost. And if you watch Joshua Williams' head, I get the feeling, and maybe I'm giving Iosivas too much credit, he sees Williams peeking into the backfield, and that's when he decides to turn because he realizes that Williams has lost him a little bit. And I feel like that was kind of his decision right there based on Williams' eyes being this way. That's what it looks like to me. And then that's part of the reason. Look at that space. Easy for a touchdown. But my guess is that I think Williams should have passed him off to McDuffie here. McDuffie's there. You've got your guy inside. Why are you going, you have your help there. Why are you running so hard to the middle? This to me is kind of a coverage understanding thing. You have no help here and you have help here. So if anything, you should be much more worried about the guy going that way. If he runs that way, he's running into your help. That's fine. So why are you pursuing him so hard that you're giving up the outside? That's what you don't want him to do. So to me, I feel like this is a Joshua Williams issue, and I feel like he should have either kind of laid off, passed that coverage off to McDuffie, or at least played softer because he's got the help inside. You just can't be beaten outside. That's the one place you can't be beaten in that situation. So unfortunate rep there from Joshua Williams. Here it is from the end zone view. And as you can see, the Chiefs' pass rush in this situation looks like they were completely gassed. Look at Chris Jones. He looks incredibly tired. This is a guy that just destroyed all game. I think they kind of doubled both tackles, and the tight end was able to handle Karlaftis, which is a somewhat disappointing rep. I think he got a chip a little bit from the running back, but because the tight end could handle Karlaftis, that allowed doubles here and here on the interior guys, and Orlando Brown. He is kind of suited to play someone like Mike Dana, right? Orlando Brown Jr., we know from his time in Kansas City, is a great against power and struggles with speed, while Dana is like a power guy. So that's always a good matchup for Orlando Brown Jr. But you can see here, like, McDuffie's got the inside. He's here. And so Williams giving up the inside was extremely disappointing. In any case, that ended up being a touchdown, and that led to the Bengals being up 23-17 as we were nearing the end of the third quarter. And so the Bengals have gone up 23-17, and this is the Chiefs' drive to answer. And this was a pretty rough drive, all in all. So even once, the Chiefs were able to move the ball, running the ball on their previous drive, get down and score that touchdown, the pass to Wanya Morris, this drive was a lot more clunky. I think it'll be forgotten now, but Mahomes actually did throw an interception earlier in the drive that came back due to illegal contact. And then we got put into a 1st and 20 because of a hold. This is when Kingsley Suamataia, his struggles became more pronounced against Trey Hendrickson. And at this point, I think we're in a 2nd and 13 situation. And the Chiefs look to be sputtering just a little bit offensively. And kind of looking at the film, it seems to be more and more that was probably secondary to pressure concerns, especially off that left side. But let's see this play here. So the Bengals are actually running a single high. And they're just running a cover one man. And what the Chiefs do to combat this is they've got Xavier Worthy running a go with an outside release. Rashee Rice is actually running a go with an inside release. And then let's get Kelsey motioned over here. So Kelsey is just going to come out into the flat. And Noah Gray is just going to run a little curl. And I mean, this is a good route combination against single high, right? They've got your fastest guy coming here. Got another receiver coming here. There's one safety deep, so if either guy wins, the safety's in the middle of the field, there's a good chance here to get a big play. And if you watch the releases, Rice gets off like he's shot out of a cannon. He's already starting to gain on the DB. Worthy takes a little more circuitous of a path. As we mentioned on the Rice touchdown, he's having some trouble getting a quick off the line and getting straight in. If you watch Rice and his release, there's not a lot of wasted motion, not a lot of lateral motion, right? He makes one cut, boom, and he's going vertical. Look at Worthy. Worthy kind of makes his move, but look at how he has to round this off before he's finally getting straight up the field. In any case, I mean, he's ahead of his defender. He's got a step here. It's not as much as Rice would have had. So if you look at Mahomes, he's kind of looking down the center of the field, and his first look is to Worthy. And with Worthy's speed at this point, he feels confident that Worthy's going to get a step, and he did. However, if he had looked down, Rice already has a step at this stage where Worthy is still kind of rounding off his route. And so probably was a better bet in this situation. Nothing wrong with going to Worthy here. If he's the guy you see and he's winning, I don't think you turn that down. But unfortunately, Rice seemed to have done a better job. I mean, he's a little closer to the safety because he is running up the numbers on his inside release, but in any case, the throw from Mahomes was a little bit short here. It's one that I wish he had put just a little bit out in front and let Worthy try to accelerate and run under it. It ended up just being a little bit behind, and Cam Taylor-Britt, it's hard to see on this copy, but he just made a really nice one-handed interception. I think more than anything, the two things I would say about this play are, one, the ball placement, if he had just gotten a little more on this throw, and two, I do wish Worthy had kind of fought Taylor-Britt for this ball a little more. This was a tough catch. I wonder if Worthy, like me, thought that Cam Taylor-Britt was not going to catch that ball. But in any case, it ended up being an interception. We can see it again from this view. And you look at Mahomes, he does what he needs to do as far as looking off the safety before looking over. But if you notice, he doesn't look to his right at all, which you pick a side, right? It's one of those situations where you pick a side, he looks over, and he throws to a guy who had a step. So how's he supposed to know that, you don't want to go and look over to the other side if you've got someone open on this side. Once you got an open guy, you take him. And he does. It's just not a perfect throw. I mean, it's not a bad throw. Taylor-Britt has to really get up there to make this pick, but this is where you want Worthy to high point with him and take that ball from him. But if that ball is just a little bit out in the front, How you think Worthy's able to run under that? Not an easy throw to make, and a great defensive play. At this point, it's looking pretty bleak for the Chiefs. We're talking about they are down 23-17. Mahomes threw his second interception of the game. They have also lost a fumble, so the offense is turning it over frequently. Don't feel like they have a lot of answers, and the left tackle, Kingsley Suamataia, is getting absolutely destroyed. You can tell that it's not necessarily schematic, right? This play, the Chiefs had schemed up to win against the coverage, and they had two guys get open. It was just unfortunate. It was a little bit short on the throw and a great play by a defender. But we also have the flip side of that. At this point, the Bengals have scored on 5 of their 6 meaningful drives. And their last 4 meaningful drives, I say meaningful because they had that one drive where they had like one quarterback sneak to end the half. So I'm not really counting that as a drive. So their last 4 meaningful drives, they've totaled 20 points. The Chiefs are really struggling to stop them. The Chiefs' offense is sputtering. They're already down 6 and now giving the Bengals the ball off a turnover. So it is starting to look bleak. It's possible this game might be slipping away from Kansas City at this point. All right. So we've got the Bengals on their subsequent drive. They've just intercepted Mahomes for the second time, getting their 3rd turnover of the game. And they're up 23-17, and the Chiefs really need something to happen on defense. Well, they started the drive well. They're getting the Bengals now to 3rd and 10. They're 3rd and 10 right around the Chiefs' 34-yard line. And on this play, the Bengals look to be in 21 personnel. Sorry, this might be 11. This might be a tight end in the backfield. What number is that? Yeah, I believe that's a tight end in the backfield. So I think this is actually 11 personnel with 3 wide receivers. And what the Bengals end up running is they run like a kind of corner pattern here, and they've got like a post or a dig. It's looks more like a post, and so they end up having both of these guys stay in to protect, which allows the Chiefs, who are in a cover 2 man, they can actually blitz Leo Chenal, and Connor can kind of play a robber because they're 2 guys that were eligible receivers that stay back. The running back leaks out very late, but not enough to challenge the coverage. So the ability to have Chenal blitz here is really important because when Chenal comes up the center is occupied, and suddenly he can't help on Chris Jones. So you're making Chris Jones one-on-one with the guard here. And watch what Chris Jones does with that. Look at that. Immediately gets his hands off of him, and immediate win. I mean, Chris Jones was extremely disruptive in this game. He's in the backfield. This is like a quarterback's worst nightmare. I mean, forget the fact that everyone's covered because it doesn't matter when this is happening right in your face. But Chris Jones right there forces Burrow off his spot immediately, and Burrow starts to scramble, which opens up angles for Turk Wharton and Mike Dana to clean up the play. Not only do they get him down, but Dana is able to force a fumble, and the ball comes out. Chamarri Connor picks it up and takes it all the way for 6. This was a huge play. I mean, this is a game that looks like it's getting out of hand for Kansas City. You're down 6. You can't move the ball. You can't stop the Bengals. If this becomes 30-17, this game might be done. Instead, on 3rd down, a huge turnover for a touchdown. So let's watch it from this angle. And again, Chenal's going to blitz right up on the center. So this leaves Chris Jones one-on-one. And watch the move he puts on to the inside of the guard. Here's Chenal. Look at how fast that was. I mean, just swipes his hands and gone immediately. And Burrow absolutely has no chance. And we saw from the coverage that no one was open at this time anyway, but even if, he's not even back at the back of his drop yet. This is a long developing route combination. They're looking to pick up big yardage on 3rd and 10. He gets him off his spot, and then look at Dana and Wharton do a great job of seeing this and converging. And it looks like Dana is the guy who forces the fumble here. No, actually it's Wharton. Oh, my apologies. Wharton comes around with his left arm here and forces this fumble. Gets the ball, and the ball ends up coming out through Burrow's right here. So they had a good angle where it looked like somewhere around here is when the ball came out. And then it like dropped by his legs, and then you can see it coming out right there from between his legs. And Connor just picks that up and takes it back. This ended up being just a massive play for the Chiefs because, they had been down at this point. They were down 22-17. I had misspoken earlier saying it was 23-17. I completely forgot that Evan McPherson missed the PAT after they scored a touchdown. So it was 22-17, and so this play ended up getting the Chiefs up 23-22. The Chiefs tried to go for 2 to get up 25-22, and it failed. So they get a 23-22 lead here, and that ended up being a huge play in determining the outcome of this game and really kind of stemmed the tide of what had been a real force for the Bengals over the middle portion of this game. This was where the game kind of leveled out once again, and Kansas City kind of found themselves back in it. Here we are on the Bengals' subsequent drive. So the Chiefs are up 23-22, partially due to that missed extra point by Evan McPherson on the Bengals' last touchdown. So it could have been a tie game at this point, but they're down 1 because of that extra point miss. So it's 23-22. The Bengals are coming down into Chiefs territory now, well into the fourth quarter, and they have a 2nd and 11 just outside the Chiefs' 34-yard line. This ended up being a pretty impactful play, so let's look at it. The Bengals are here in 11 personnel. There's your 1 running back and the 1 tight end. They end up running a route combination where they're going to get this guy to come up and run an out, and have Gesicki come on over, and they're going to have him come up behind, and they're going to have Chase kind of run a quick stop route. The Chiefs look to be in a cover 1 man situation, so they are manned up here. The safety is on Gesicki, manned up here, and then we've got deep safety, and the one of Bolton or Tranquil is taken, the running back. So let's see how this plays out. So it looks like actually Bolton and Tranquil are both blitzing. So they don't have anybody in the middle of the field, and the running back ends up staying in to block. And another thing to note, actually, is that Chanel is again playing in this. So this is their 3-3-5 formation. I missed Chanel as a linebacker. So they actually only have 3 defensive backs on the field, and they have 3 linebackers, 1, 2, 3. So they're doing what we talked about earlier, where they've got the 3 defensive linemen. Looks like Chris Jones is off the field for this, and then they've got Chanel kind of playing as their 4th defensive lineman de facto, but he's a linebacker. But they end up sending quite a blitz, actually. They end up bringing 6 total. So no robber in the middle of the field. They've just got Justin Reed as the deep safety, and everybody else is manning up. So here's the route combination. And you can see a couple things. Burrow's ready to throw, so we've got off coverage here, and Chase is going to sit, so he's going to be open. But since Cook was playing so far off, Gesicki is actually wide open. If Burrow was able to get him the ball here, he had some room to run too. But it looks like Chase was the first read. So this is kind of similar to what we talked about on the first Mahomes interception, the second Mahomes interception, where he threw it to Worthy, is that Well, if you go to your first read and your first read's open, you're not really going to go look around for other people that are open. His first read is Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase, look at that separation. He's open, so he's going to throw the ball. I mean, you're going to throw it to your guy. But it's too bad for him because Gesicki was quite open. And Gesicki wasn't being guarded by Trent McDuffie. He's one of the best tacklers in the league. McDuffie grabs him kind of up high and manages to bring him down. And this is the play that really frustrated Jamar Chase because he felt that this was a hip drop tackle. Just so you know, based on the rules, a hip drop tackle is when a defender will grab an offensive player, either like bear hug them or wrap them up, and then they drop their weight and swivel their hips, which clearly doesn't happen on this play, right? They leave their feet, drop their weight, and swivel their hips. McDuffie keeps his feet this entire time. He's still on his feet. And the second part of this is that they have to land on the back of the offensive player's legs at the knee or below. And again, McDuffie doesn't land on Chase at all. He stays on his feet. So this is not a hip drop tackle. But Jamar Chase, who I'm assuming was partially just frustrated by, he had 34 yards, so the Chiefs really made it difficult for him to do anything. He was extremely frustrated, and this is where, if you saw the aftermath of this play, he ended up drawing a flag for unsportsmanlike conduct because he went to the ref twice, and according to the referee, he said something that kind of crossed the line of just typical profanity and things that players say on the field. And then after the flag, he had to be restrained by Burrow because he kept going back and trying to talk to the referee. So this penalty ended up being crucial because this would have been a 3rd and 7 situation at about the 30-yard line. But instead, the 15 yards moved them back to 3rd and 22. And they ultimately had to kick a 53-yard field goal to take a 25-23 lead. Had the Bengals been able to get to a 3rd and 7 and convert it, they might have won this game if they had been able to score a touchdown on this drive. But being pushed back to 3rd and 22 was too much, so they ended up only being able to get a field goal. And you can get a better view of the tackle here. So remember, to be a hip drop, he's got to leave his feet, swivel his hips, and then come down on the back of Chase's legs, either at the knee or below. So this is clearly not a hip drop tackle by the book. The referees were correct not to call this. Chase was unable to control himself, and it ended up being a huge loss for the Bengals, assuming, maybe they wouldn't have converted 3rd and 7 anyway, but they certainly weren't able to convert 3rd and 22, and they ended up only getting 3 points on this drive in a game that the Chiefs ended up winning by 1. All right, so this is probably the most fun play, in my opinion, to look at, and like most really fun plays, it's brought to us by Steve Spagnuolo. He really got creative, but let's set the scene. It's 3rd and 6, and there's 3:27 to go in the game. The Bengals are up 25-23, and the Chiefs are desperately looking to get off the field. They don't want the Bengals to be able to just run the clock out. They would prefer the Bengals not score a field goal because then the Chiefs wouldn't be able to win with a field goal. They'd require a touchdown. And also, the Chiefs still have their timeouts, so it would be nice to preserve them. So getting off the field here would be ideal for Kansas City, and they're really kind of running out of chances. So the Bengals here are in 11 personnel. Here's a running back, and here's Mike Gesicki, the tight end. And the Chiefs have countered with, looks like they've got, here's Nick Bolton, and he looks like he's the only linebacker. They might be in dime here. They're in dime, which means they have 6 defensive backs. Here are their 4 defensive linemen. Here's Nick Bolton, their 1 linebacker. The defensive backs are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the Chiefs come out here looking like they are in a cover 2 alignment, right? They've got, this is Chamarri Connor, this is Brian Cook. They've got them deep. They have Najee Johnson over here. Trent McDuffie is over the slot. Jalen Watson's over here, and Justin Reed is hanging out near the line of scrimmage. So, what do the Chiefs actually do? So here it looks like 2 deep, cover 2 safeties. Well, Najee goes up top to press right there. Justin Reed is showing blitz. And if you notice, they've got Mike Dana on the interior and Chris Jones is rushing from the edge. And toward the end of this, as Justin Reed is showing blitz, Chamarri Connor starts creeping up toward the line of scrimmage. And he times it very well so he can get going. So remember, the Chiefs were initially showing a cover 2 with these 2 guys. Well, watch what the safety ends up doing. So here's Brian Cook. Brian Cook is coming all the way out here. And look at Trent McDuffie drop. So it ends up kind of being a cover 2, but Brian Cook, who looks like the safety to Burrow's left, ends up being the safety to Burrow's right. And Trent McDuffie, who looked like the slot corner, ends up being the safety to Burrow's left. Because Chamarri Connor, so essentially they did a rotation that you blitz, you come here, you replace there. And since Jamar Chase is ISO'd over here, the Chiefs like to bracket him. So essentially what this safety does is just double team Jamar Chase. So it is kind of a too high, like 2 safety, but there's nobody else over here, so your duty is just to kind of double chase with Jalen Watson. McDuffie stays up over the top, and the other kind of crafty thing that Spagnuolo does is he takes Mike Dana and drops him into a zone. So he ends up with 4 defenders on the right side for 3 receivers. Dana's coming in, Bolton's coming in, McDuffie stays over the top, and Najee Johnson is running with the outside receiver. And I think this kind of change in the coverage at the snap does enough to get Burrow to hold the ball because, Connor's starting his blitz out here. It's not like he's up at the line. So he needs a little bit of time to get there. And I think Burrow holds that ball a little bit because he's trying to figure out what the heck is going on over here. I mean, Brian Cook started over there, Trent McDuffie started in the slot, and suddenly, these are your 2 deep. And the point of this zone blitz, when you get linemen to come underneath, is just get in the way of passing lanes. So makes this throw harder, and he's really trying to get out there to make it hard for a quick throw. Get out there, and as long as you make a quick throw difficult, that's enough time for the blitz to get home, which it does. Just remember this every time, when we complain, when we're like, God, why is Karlaftis out in coverage? Or why is Mike Dana out in coverage? It's to allow for crafty blitzes like this. Because ultimately, Spags is trying to overload this side. Dana being in here occupies the guard, right? So they're not able to shift the line entirely. The guard stays occupied. Look, he ends up blocking nobody. And so then you've got center, and then you've got the guard getting Justin Reed, and so that is what allows Chamarri Connor to come in free. So Dana is able to occupy the guard long enough to confuse their protections and then go out and cover. And the other bit of this that I think is so important to note, and I actually saw it pointed out by Fran Duffy on his breakdown of this play, is that I think it's important to always note that there's always attention to detail here in trying to make these plays work. And the bit of detail that Fran Duffy noticed was when Justin Reed comes in and he gets blocked here, he attacks the inside shoulder of his blocker. You can see it here. Watch this. Look at him go inside. Why did he do that? Well, he did that so that he could open a lane. Look at the blocker commit over here. A straight line for Connor to get in. And that split second is so important. If he engages fully here, Connor is going to have to get around them to get to Burrow. But since he comes hard to the inside, I mean, this is such a smart play. Well designed and then well executed by a veteran player. Look at that straight line right to the quarterback. And I think equally important is the fact that Karlaftis is clearly running around. He's trying to corner to open up a gap too. He's getting the tackle way out wide. So both Karlaftis going out and Reed hitting the inside of the blitz open a nice big hole right there for Connor, and he gets in for a big sack. Huge play. Ends the drive and gives the Chiefs the ball back with a chance to win the game with a field goal. Oh, this is interesting. If you watch this communication, it kind of looks like Bolton is telling Mike Dana, maybe it's because Dana is supposed to drop out into that zone, remember? Watch what Bolton, as Chris Jones, Chris Jones hunts matchups. So Chris Jones is coming out here like, I want Orlando Brown the Jr. I'm going to rush from the edge. And Bolton's telling Dana, no, you stay out. Why is he saying that? Well, because Dana, remember, eventually he's going to have to drop out in a zone here. So he's telling Dana, you need to be out here so that you can get out there. That's interesting. I never noticed that before. But look at Bolton clearly telling him, no, you stay out. And look at Dana being like, hey, Chris, come back in. But Chris is already set. So Dana's like, well, I'll come here and do it from here. And it still worked. But let's look then over on the left side here. Look at, I think Justin Reed in particular is the guy that comes in, gets the inside here, and then opens out that lane for Connor to go straight. Spagnuolo able to confuse protections again and get a huge sack, and that leads to a punt, and the Chiefs getting the ball back with the chance to take the lead. And for the final play of the film review from Week 2, Chiefs and Bengals, we've got the 4th and 16 play. So the Chiefs now have the ball with 48 seconds to go in the game. They're trying to convert 4th and 16, which came about. They had actually converted 4th and 6, but the play was called back with an illegal hands to the face penalty on Wanye Morris, the left tackle that came in for Kingsley Suamataia because Trey Hendrickson was having so much success against Kingsley. So the Chiefs found themselves in 4th and 16, needing to convert to give them a chance to kick a game-winning field goal. So what have the Chiefs got? They are in 11 personnel. This is their running back, Samaje Perine, and here's their tight end, Travis Kelce, and they've got 3 wide receivers. And the Bengals, of course, are playing very far deep. They were rushing 3, and they've got 8 back. Here's the first down marker you see here. So they're kind of all collected around the first down marker, trying to prevent a long play. So what the Chiefs do is they kind of run these deep routes across, these deep overs with Worthy and Watson. And they kind of have Rashee Rice trail the Watson route, and Perine and Kelce kind of release a little late. And it does look like the guy they're going for here is Rice. So it looks like what they're doing is they're moving these two to clear people out and then having Rice come in behind and trying to find a soft area. And then Kelce and Perine come in a little later in case something is needed. So let's watch this play out. There you see Watson and Worthy going in their clear outs, and you can see Rice is coming behind trying to find an open zone. We can just watch the play in real time. If you keep your eyes on Rice here, he's the one that's going to get the ball thrown to him. And there's the pass interference. And I think, watching it from this view in real time, it's kind of difficult to argue that it's not pass interference. I mean, I feel pretty clear that Rice probably catches this ball if he's not run into from behind by the defensive back. You can't run through an offensive player to get to the ball. You can't make contact with him before the ball gets there. So that part of it's not really that interesting to me. I think that is fairly self-explanatory, but I think that the more interesting part of this play is kind of watching what Mahomes' movement does to create the opening for Rice, because he did get open. So if we look here, Mahomes is still, at the back of his drop. Look at what we're looking at. These guys are still coming through on their crossers. And here's Rice looking for a void. And look at the depth right now of the players on this side of the field. Here's the first down marker, and look at how far they are. And now, let's not even look at Mahomes. Just look at these two defenders through the course of this play. Where are they going? Look at them come up here. And that's the importance of the threat of Mahomes running. Because at this point, Mahomes is kind of in the open field. And so his movement creates these situations where defenders have to respect the fact that he could run, and then you get these voids out behind them. And that's what really did it for Rice. So if we look at Rice here, he sees Mahomes, and he's trying to find some area in the zone. That's not a good place to settle. And then he sees him scramble and continues to drift with him. And look at how far now. Look at these guys coming up, and this is as Mahomes is throwing the ball, and look at the area now created for Rice. So really what makes this play is the fact that Mahomes' legs are so respected by these defenders up here that they come up and allow a void to exist behind for Rice. And Mahomes gets off a pretty good throw. And I think it was Connor Orr from Sports Illustrated say, the Chiefs are really good at putting people in good positions. Having Rashee Rice posted up on a 4th and 16 against a rookie 7th round draft pick is probably a good position to be in. And a 7th round pick obliged with a pass interference penalty. But I thought Mahomes' movement was so interesting on this play at how it moves defenses and creates these opportunities for big plays that they want to have. And here, the pass interference resulted in a long gain for Kansas City, and they gained 4 more yards and were able to kick a long field goal to win. But you can see Mahomes' movement from here. Look at him coming out here, and you can see the attention that is being paid to him, which allows you, these are Rice's feet right here. Rice is slipping behind and is contacted from behind, and that's pass interference. So there you have it. That's the film review for the Chiefs-Bengals game. It was, like I said at the intro, sloppy at times. There were some exciting plays. I think everyone kind of has a certain feeling about games being quote-unquote decided by penalties. I always thought it was an interesting way to frame it. They always say, let the players play, and I get that. But also part of the players playing is just don't commit a penalty, and then the official's not going to call a penalty, right? I mean, part of the players playing is you play legally, and if you do something that's against the rules, the flag's going to be thrown on you, as it should be. But anyway, it was an exciting game, and like I said on our recap podcast on Monday, I think it's just a fortunate place to be as a Chiefs fan that the Chiefs can win games against good opponents where they don't particularly play that well. But I have faith that the Chiefs will start playing better as the year goes on. Andy Reid tends to get things figured out, and I don't expect that a future playoff matchup with the Bengals, if that ends up happening, I don't expect it to be this sloppy from the Chiefs' end. Looking forward, tomorrow we will release the film recap of the Steelers-Broncos game. So keep an eye out for that. Please continue to follow along on social media. We have Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We're at STCF715. And we put up a podcast on Monday of this week, recapping week 2 and looking ahead to the Chiefs and Steelers matchups for week 3. Thanks so much for all of you that engage and follow along. Until next time.